Before we begin with our introductions of the honorees tonight, we'd like to hear from Whitney Stith, who will come forward and give us greetings from the UK College of Agriculture, Food and Environment, and HES Alumni Associations. Whitney?
Thank you, Jeff. And on behalf of the Ag and HES Alumni Association, I want to welcome all you fine folks in, and there truly are some great people here tonight and very worthy of what you folks are about to receive. And if you can read the fine print, this award, if you notice, it's the highest award that we bestow to anybody associated with the college. And this is the only event we get to dress up for. So the rest of them, we're all in jeans and t-shirts and kind of whatever. So when I picked this up, it says the Hall of Distinguished Alumni. What it really should say is probably the Hall of Difference Makers, because that's what you folks are. You really are. You've made a difference to your college, your colleagues, your university, and probably more importantly, your families. And I know each of you are all about your families. All right, a lot of you folks have been out of here for 20, 30, and 40 years, but I'll bet in some way this is still your family. Agreed? All right. Thank you. All right, in doing this award, you guys are at the core mission of the Alumni Association. This is kind of what we want to do, is recognize people. I'd love to reward you, but I don't know if the checkbook says that, okay? So, but this is one of the main purposes of what we do. So, we've been at it for 40 years. Hopefully we're going to go for another 40, and we're going to continue to have folks like the caliber of people like you that are in this room tonight. So, I have nothing further other than to say welcome in. I hope you get the chance to enjoy some fellowship. I know the food was excellent. That was a meal, especially from where I came from. Will we all not agree? All right, so just in closing, thanks for coming, and thanks for making the world a little better. And I'm confident these folks that are sitting at this table tonight have made either you, their family, or this university better in some way. And when I read this, I don't have enough life left to read all the accomplishments these fine folks have made. So thank you.
Thank you, Whitney. Whitney performing his last official duties as the president of the HES and the Environment Alumni Associations, as he will complete his 2-year stint. So congratulations, and job well done, Whitney. And of course, before we begin our induction ceremonies, we will need to hear first and foremost from the Dean and Director of the College of Agriculture, Food and Environment, Dr. Nancy Cox. Dean Cox.
Thank you. You know, I can't thank Whitney enough for his leadership during his term and for his comments just now that really put the heart to everything we do. And we really appreciate all of you who are here. It's such an honor for me to be the current dean and to represent this college, but we're just on this continuum. We've been a College of Ag for more than 150 years, and every day of all those years, we've tried to make better than the day before. And I think that's what really characterizes a land-grant program, College of Agriculture. So I'm just honored to be here with these distinguished inductees tonight. They've all impacted the world in different ways. They'll be their stories will be told more later, but I think their backgrounds reflect the diversity of opportunities in the college. We kind of say in the college, you can go anywhere from the College of Agriculture, Food and Environment. And we have Charlie Boyd, who first and foremost provided an excellent purebred operation that was a standard setter for so many operations, and he was also a founder of the North American Livestock Exposition and had so many other leadership roles, and so we're so proud. Brady Deaton, a UK Ag graduate who had a distinguished academic career, but his impact has gone far beyond the academic and university walls. Harold Love, really truly an iconic figure in extension support for agribusiness, and that on an international scale. Rupert Seals, a distinguished academic who had a career as a professor, dean, director of international programs, and who took on some serious academic issues related to 1862 and 1890 land-grant universities, and had received, was the first African American to receive a master's degree from the College of Ag, so we're so proud. I'd also like to recognize some former inductees that are here tonight. David Schweitzer, who's right here, the first class of inductees. David represents. Barbara Rice, who's my hero, who was inducted last year. We have former Dean Orrin Little and Myrtle here. Where are you guys? Oh, there you are. Orrin calls himself the dean twice removed, but I think it's changing now, because Orrin is, I don't want to call him twice removed anymore, because he's at every event and he contributes every day to our college, as does Myrtle, and so we really appreciate that. We have Associate Dean Rick Bennett here tonight, Associate Dean Larry Grabo, Animal Science Chair Richard Coffey, past chair of Ag Econ, Lynn Robbins, so we recognize past chairs, Lynn, too, you know. And I'd also like to mention, introduce Pamela Gray, who's our new Director of Philanthropy at the college. So if you all would give a hand to all these folks, I'd appreciate it. We're a lot more diverse college today than when we started 150 plus years ago. We have over 2,500 undergrads and 380-ish grad students, and we have now women make up over 57% of our undergraduate population. That's more than it was when some of our inductees were here. And 28% of our faculty are women, and 38% of our in leadership roles are women at the college. Also, we're very diverse in other ways. Under President Capilouto, UK has made a big commitment to diversity, and right now at the University of Kentucky, we have a higher proportion of African American students at UK than exists in the general population of Kentucky, and so we're really proud of that. We also have a lot of African American students within our college, and we have a premier organization within our college called the the Chapter of Minorities in Agriculture, Natural Resources and Related Sciences, Manners. Where's Fabian? There you are, representing that group tonight. It's tops in the nation. It's won 4 national awards for its efforts, and I would also say it's a truly exemplary student organization within our college. So we look differently from when we were chartered in 1862, but we are always moving forward. And as Pamela Gray, who I mentioned earlier, we've really augmented our development efforts. We also have Marcy Hicks here, who is a stalwart of our efforts in this area. One of the big things we're doing right now is raising funds to match an acquisition we got from the Governor's Office of Ag Policy and the Ag Development Board for a new grain and forage center in Princeton, Kentucky. In a year when the university's budgets were cut last year, the college was very lucky to acquire a $15 million investment from the Ag Development Board and the Governor's Office of Ag Policy for the Grain and Forage Center in Princeton. That's the good news. The challenging news is we have to match that $15 million, but we're working well on that under the leadership of Marcy and many others. But we're very fortunate in a low budget year to have gotten the confidence of many leaders in the legislature that we were poised to make a contribution to the grain and forage economy in the state. So we're very grateful for that. It's something we're really proud of. We also this year have awarded about $630,000 in scholarships to our students. Our students depend so much on the scholarships they receive. Many of our students work. Many of our students do a lot of other things than take classes and make grades. All of our students in the college are asked to do an experience that's not about the classroom, an internship or a practical experience in some way. We're kind of distinguished in that among other colleges at UK because we do require that of our students. And one of the more exciting things I can also tell you about the Ag School is that we have started what we call an Ag precinct study. That's what the architects and engineers call this when you're planning new buildings. And so if anybody who's looked at campus and thought about it very much, agriculture started in the Gillis building, which is right next to the main building, way on the other side of the campus from where we are now. We moved from the Gillis building to the Matthews building to the Scoville building to Ag North, which is now kind of separated from the rest of the university by the big medical complex. And so we've undertaken an effort with the support of Central University to develop the future Ag campus. It will bring the HES departments together with the Ag departments, which everybody thinks is long overdue. And we're going to really develop a campus. For the first time, we've developed one intentionally. We've always just taken what we could get. Now we're actually trying to develop an intentional Ag campus. We don't have a lot of land left between us and Alumni Drive, if you think about it, but we're working on that diligently. So we're also planning a very active redesign of the Cooper House, which, if you remember that, alums, it's on the corner of Cooper Drive and Nicholasville, where Nicholasville turns into limestone. And it's now, since a few other buildings were torn down in the past couple of years by UK. It's now the oldest building on campus. It was the place where Dean T.P. Cooper lived when he was a dean from 1918 till 1951, which no deans are in last that long now. But it's kind of an iconic place within our college, and so we're working on a development project that will be for the Ag precinct that will be centered on the Cooper building. So we're very excited about that. Also, as always, we continue to serve Kentucky, our college does, as the unbiased source of research that goes into action and practice within our state. And that goes from our experiment station and cooperative extension service. And service is a big motivator for our college. So we're so proud of where we are and where our distinguished alumni that are going to be inducted tonight, where they are and what they've contributed. But as always, we're trying to be better with every day because we're a land-grant college within a land-grant university. So we thank all of our inductees, and I guess we'd also like to think about 3 of them came as undergrads, and Dr. Seals came as a master's student. Way back in that time, their parents or their family members entrusted the College of Agriculture with their education. And that is what people are still doing today, and we feel that seriously. So of all our inductees, we'd like to thank your family members way back when for entrusting you all to us, or what we were then, and would like everybody to know that we're trying just as hard to be that to all of our students we have now. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dean Cox. And also, I'm joined on stage to share in reading the bios of our inductees tonight by Michelle McDonald. Michelle, another past president of the Ag and HES Alumni Associations. The University of Kentucky College of Agriculture, Food and Environment annually honors extraordinary alumni who have contributed substantially to their chosen fields and to their communities and society through induction into the Hall of Distinguished Alumni, which is the highest honor the college awards. Prior to tonight, dating back to 2012, we had 4 classes which have been inducted into the Hall. of Distinguished Alumni, a total of 47 inductees, both living and posthumous. And I would like to begin by reading the words for the first inductee tonight, Charles Boyd. After graduating from the University of Kentucky College of Agriculture, Food, and Environment in 1964, Charles Boyd returned to his family's Mayslick farm, where he built their cattle enterprise into the well-known and respected beef operation that it is today. Boyd beef cattle is recognized as one of the nation's top seed stock producers of two major beef cattle breeds, and he worked tirelessly to promote and advance livestock and farmer organizations and associations and build a true family operation for future generations. Boyd mentored youth and adults in evaluating livestock and in a profitable production and management of quality cattle. He hosted and made his cattle available for 4-H, FFA, and college judging teams from more than 20 states. He was also one of the most sought-after purebred livestock judges, having served that role in almost every state. Boyd was instrumental in founding the North American International Livestock Exposition, which takes place in Louisville each November, and served on the Beef Advisory Board and on the steering committee. He was a longtime member and director of the American Hereford Association, serving as the president 3 times, and he also served on the steering committee from the National Hereford Show. He was a charter member of the Mason County Cattlemen's Association and served as its first president. Boyd was also director of the Kentucky Cattlemen's Association, member of the Kentucky Livestock Improvement Association, and the Kentucky State Board of Agriculture. Through the years, Boyd was the recipient of numerous honors and awards, including the induction into the Mason County Alumni Hall of Fame and American Hereford Association Hall of Fame. Mr. Boyd passed away on September the 30th, 2015. Accepting on his behalf tonight is his wife Martha, son Charles, and daughter Suzanne. Would you please congratulate Charles Boyd?
Brady J. Deaton grew up on his family's farm in Kentucky, where 4-H played an important role in his early life and development, teaching him about service to the community and establishing what was to become a lifelong interest in agricultural economics. That interest grew into a passion at UK, where in 1966 he earned his bachelor's degree in agriculture economics, followed up by a master's degree in diplomacy and international commerce. Deaton also received a master's and doctoral degrees in agricultural economics from the University of Wisconsin. Deaton was a Peace Corps volunteer in Thailand, where he taught vocational agriculture, a faculty member at the University of Tennessee, and staff director for the Special Task Force on Food for Peace for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C., before accepting a professorship at Virginia Tech. At Virginia Tech, he also served as coordinator of the Rural Development Research and Extension Program and associate director of the Office for International Development. Deaton's career then took him to the University of Missouri as a professor and chair of the Agricultural Economics Department and head of the Social Science Unit. He moved up the ranks, being appointed Chief of Staff in the Chancellor's Office, then Deputy Chancellor, Provost, and Executive Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, In 2004, Deaton was selected as Chancellor of the University of Missouri-Columbia and held in that position until retiring in November of 2013. That same year, the University of Missouri Board of Curators approved the establishment of the Brady and Ann Deaton Institute for University Leadership in International Development. President Barack Obama appointed Deaton as the chair of the Board for International Food and Agricultural Development, an advisory council to the United States Agency for International Development in 2011, and reappointed him in 2012 for a 4-year term. Please congratulate Brady J. Deaton.
Well, thank you, Dean Cox, and I really appreciate this honor. It's just tremendous, and I can't tell you how warmed I am and honored to be here with you this evening. And it was just wonderful to come here with members of my family. I do want to take a moment to introduce them, say a word about people, and then a quick word about the institution. I'll do all that within 5 minutes, too. But at my table tonight, I want to introduce my wife and brother and his wife and children, because they reflect the best of the land-grant university in so many ways. My wife is Ann Simonetti, who graduated 3 years after me here at the University of Kentucky in English. We met because the University of Kentucky, in its global perspective, sent us to Ecuador together. We had never met before, and we got acquainted in the summer of '66, and you do the math, this year we're celebrating our 50th anniversary. We got married the following year, and 4 children and 7 grandchildren later. My brother Ron and I grew up with Penny in 4-H work, his wife Penny. In 4-H and Extension has made all the difference in all that I have done, and we see that here. Ron has had his own career with American Greeting Cards and doing tremendous economic development work in the state of Kentucky, and continues in an important leadership role. He and I also both have the honor of having worked at the Dairy Barn, E.S. Good Barn. We used to live there and work. He followed me about 3 years later, but that Dairy Barn experience has meant so much throughout my career and to this day. Bob Walton, whom some of you know, is my first advisor and still a source of inspiration and friendship for us. My cousin Oliver Deaton had been on the faculty here and was my dairy cattle judge throughout, and we did tremendous in the national contest then. And Penny's daughter Amanda and her husband Brendan Sears are here this evening. Both work with the Extension Service in Madison County. So this is a real experience of what the land-grant university is. Wonderful to see Orrin Little tonight, who said you can never stop, you cannot be gracious enough and thankful enough for all the people that have helped shape your life. And I could go on and on with the Billy Toombs that I met through this award, and Marcy Hicks, who's worked so much on efforts with myself and my wife in the past, and all of you that I've met, my table, distinguished leadership here in every word that have been recognized already. I just want to thank you. My colleagues from the Alpha Gamma Rho fraternity who meant so much to me. Russell, thank you and for being here, and all your colleagues here this evening, and sent me a photograph of my group of Alpha Gamma Rho that I could reflect on so many wonderful people. But the land-grant university is such a powerful institution that is followed worldwide and emulated and aspired to by countries around the world. We're something very unique. And your president, Eli Capolito, I'm very proud to have worked with him as we got into the SEC from Missouri, and worked with him on the board, and I appreciate the leadership that he has provided to this institution. I'm very proud to have been associated with it throughout my career. The relationships, the other honorees this evening, I'm fortunate to have met them all in various roles in the past. They have enriched my life, and they will continue to. And so to all of you, I thank you so very much, and thank you very much for this tremendous recognition. I'll come back to another event, I hope, in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brady. Our next inductee tonight is Harold G. Love. Harold Love began his career as an assistant county agent in Mercer County, working with 4-H and horticulture programs, and captained as an extension professor specializing in agribusiness marketing and management. Along the way, he did consulting work in the United States, Indonesia, India, Thailand, China, and Honduras with many state, national, and international agencies and organizations. He also taught vocational agriculture to veterans, was a visiting professor in Brazil, and worked with the University of Kentucky and the United States Agency for International Development to assist the Indonesian Association of Western Universities in implementing the Western Universities Agricultural Education Project in Indonesia for 4 years. Love, who is from Lexington, received his bachelor's degree in 1949 and master's degree in 1962 from the University of Kentucky College of Agriculture, Food and Environment, and his doctorate degree from the University of Missouri. Much of Love's work centered on conducting comprehensive management audits that provided in-depth education and advice to help agribusiness managers increase efficiency and profitability. His work in this area first led to improving management techniques in the state and region, and later on a national scale. His efforts in this area were widespread and long-lasting management education and training programs in many parts of the United States that are still employed the techniques, approaches, and materials from some of Harold's work. And additionally, he was a mentor to others in the agricultural economics field. Would you please congratulate Harold G. Love? Harold?
I'm indeed humbled and honored by this event. Somehow I never even thought of such an honor. I'm a native of Spencer County, which is a small county over near Louisville, about 25 miles from the city. And I went to an 8th grade one-room school. And in that school, you don't get a whole lot of education during the day. You divide the time between 8 different courses or 8 different classes, and so you have a lot of time to do other things. And among those are a couple of old geography books that I like to read. And I would go through those, and I would look at this place, and I'd say I'd like to go there or there. And had no idea, of course, that it ever happened. But the University of Kentucky made all of that possible later on. I graduated in 1949, almost 68 years ago. So I'm older than everybody in here, I think. Not many even 68 years old. And then I went back to graduate school after working in extension in Mercer County and over in the Louisville area, and ended up right down here in extension specialist, and started the first agribusiness management course at the University of Kentucky. And so that was a rather interesting experience. I appreciate all of the honors, and I appreciate the people with the kind comments. I'd like to make this clear that this is my #1 introduction I've ever had. I will also mention that the second best one was in Thailand. And I had been employed to come over and start a national cooperative system for agricultural cooperatives. There was a political science professor from Harvard who was formerly the number 3 guy in USAID, and the Prime Minister was also had maintained a portfolio for the Ministry of Agriculture. So he was own Ministry of Agriculture, Minister of Agriculture. And to kick off this national program, we went on national TV. And he had the Harvard professor on one side and had me on the other. And he went through a long story about Harvard. I gathered this came up fairly frequently. And then he introduced me very shortly. I didn't understand what he said, but one of my friends there told me, he says, Harold Love, the famous farmer from Kentucky. So that's the second best introduction I've ever had. I appreciate the honor very much, and have enjoyed all my years with the University of Kentucky. When I started off in '45 as a student, there were 2,500 students in the whole university. When I graduated in 1949, there were 4,500. There were a big influx of GIs from World War II. And you can see all of the progress that has been made over these years to the present time. And the College of Agriculture is almost as big as the whole university was back then. Anyway, I appreciate it very much. And thank you.
Rupert G. Seals, a Fayette County native, has had an extended career in higher education, rising through the ranks from instructor to professor to dean. He has given much to agriculture through exemplary academic leadership and his advocacy and action in creating a national awareness of the vital need for increased economic support and opportunities for African Americans at land-grant universities. Seals received his bachelor's degree in dairy science in 1953 from Florida A&M University. He returned to Kentucky and in 1956 became the first African American to receive a master's degree from the College of Agriculture, Food, and the Environment. In 1960, he earned his doctorate from Washington State University. During his career, Seals taught at Washington State, Tennessee State, Iowa State, and the University of Nevada. He was professor and dean of the School of Agriculture and Home Economics at Florida A&M from 1969 to 1974. He was associate dean of the College of Agriculture and professor of animal nutrition at the University of Nevada from 1976 to 1987. He returned to Florida A&M in 1989 to direct international programs for 5 years, and then taught biochemistry until he retired in 1998. In addition, he coordinated special research projects for the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Cooperative State Research Service in Washington, D.C. for 2 years. Seals is the author of many publications, notably his book, published in 1998, which details some of the early politics accompanying the designation of both the predominantly white and the predominantly black land-grant schools in 17 southern states. The Reno, Nevada resident has been a trailblazer and a scholar in his field. Please congratulate Rupert G. Seals.
Oops. I'm perhaps am not following protocol. Once you get into something, somehow your mind gets a little cloudy. I'm 84 years old. I've been married 62 years. We celebrated the 62nd. We celebrated the 62nd, December 26th, less than 2 weeks ago. My wife is too ill to come. If she was even half, if you know her, if she was even half ready to come, she would have been here. So when she doesn't come, she's really sick. I'm going to take off my glasses so I can read what I wrote down. We had 4 children. One of them is here. He has more beard than I have, and he's taken my picture. His name is Rupert also. We had 3 boys and adopted a girl. Let me say something about my hometown. My hometown is Lexington, Kentucky, except that's not my hometown. I lived in a little hamlet, we lived in a little hamlet called Cadentown. And if you know anything about the structures of the county roads, it was set where Liberty Road and Todd Road meet. And if you ever go in that direction, you'll know you're in Cadentown if you can find the sign. The powers that be kind of buried the sign a little bit. But anyway, that's another story. Your hometown is not just where you're from. It's also who you are. I got that from Arnold Palmer of Charlie Rose was redoing an interview he did with him before he passed. But that's a good saying. There were 4 high schools here. There was Henry Clay for the city, for whites, Dunbar for the city, for blacks. My wife graduated from Dunbar. The other school system was the county school system. It had 2 schools, Lafayette for the county and Frederick Douglass High School for blacks in the county. I did not meet my wife until I had gone to Florida in them 4 years, came back, was working on a master's here, but I would drive to Frankfort at Kentucky State to, you know, dance, to dances. That was always in my heart there. But anyway, that was a reflection of things at the time. I would drive my dad to work. He was a principal of a small school. Even though we lived in the country, he was in the city system. And then I'd drive out to the dairy building and go to class. And when the classes were over, I left. And, you know, I'm a little slow to learn, you know. And it occurred to me after about a couple of months, the rest of the guys who I take classes with were not leaving. And I figured out later that they were on assistantships. And of course, I was not on an assistantship. My dad paid $65 for me to attend 1 semester. And the next semester, he paid another $65. That was cheaper than the cost of going to Florida A&M the 4 years I spent there. I averaged, for the course I was living on the campus and all that, I averaged about $700 per year at Florida A&M, but I wasn't living at home. Now, if you have heard, I hope you have heard of Douglass High School, the new Douglass High School. And I would like to congratulate my brother for being a main instrument in getting that name made for Douglass. The Dunbar High School designation, which was a black school, was made some 20 years ago. But we appreciate that. It is heartening to see that Lexingtonians respect the fact that these 2 schools existed and educated a lot of people. I would like to introduce my family, if you don't mind. I have Professor Alvin Seals. Will you stand, Al? He worked at Kentucky State for longer than Kentucky State existed. I would like to introduce his twin brother, Wilfred, and his wife, Cora. Will you stand, please? And I'd like to present Carrick, a son of Al's, my nephew, and his wife. Please stand. I would like to present Dr. Giselle Mack. She got her doctorate from the University of Cincinnati. Stand, please, where my father got his master's back in 1948. And I'd like to present her husband, Greg Mack, and her sister, Dornita Brown. Thank you very much. That's what it means to be home. I would like to say one more thing. I had applied for graduate school at places like Cornell and Ohio State, Michigan State, and so forth. Many of you already know that in order to study agriculture, you have to go to, generally speaking, a land-grant school. And I had gone for 4 years at Douglas, and I had never learned that the University of Kentucky had agriculture. So I was home that summer, working at my old summer job at Walgreens drugstore. I was the fastest busboy that you ever could imagine. And in fact, I got a little blowback from some of my black friends who said, "You're working too hard, you're doing too much." I said, "Look, this is the way I'm going to do it. And if you don't like it, why, you can shut up." But anyway, my cousin who graduated from Kentucky State in agriculture back in the 30s, he mentioned to me, he said, "Well, I was complaining that I didn't get an assistantship to go somewhere." He said, "Well, University of Kentucky has ag." This was around Monday. On Tuesday, I was out here at the dairy building, and they signed me up, and I appreciate it. The instruction and the degree that I got here was pivotal in my career. I could say a lot more, but I'll stop right there. Thank you very much.
This concludes the induction of all the honorees tonight. Once again, let's give them all a big round of applause.